Hey to all my replay viewers. This is a copy of my latest book, The Biggest Lies Women Believe About Men Dating Themselves. Discovering the undeniable truth to a fabulous life and relationship. So some of the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight is going to be from that. So just wanted to share that with you. And I just want to say thank you to all my replay viewers. You guys are like so awesome. You guys give a lot of hearts. You guys tend to listen in longer. So I'm so grateful for all the replay viewers. So as people are chiming in, get as many people as we can in the room. If you are on this scope and you are a single lady, take a moment and don't just invite all of your followers. If you want to, if you feel like all of you have a lot of single followers, go ahead and invite all of your followers. But if you have some single friends who have perhaps been struggling on their journey of singleness, feeling like they've been in one dead-end relationship after another dead-end relationship, you are sick and tired of hearing about their dating drama or the lack thereof, or perhaps you just feel like, they're 30-something and they desire to be married and they are just trying to figure out how exactly they're going to get there, then I invite you to get them on this scope. Get them on this scope tonight. So, hey Tiffany. Got a lot of people joining that I don't know, and I welcome you. Hey Marcia, so glad you decided to join the scope tonight. Is this your first time? We have Lady D688. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got Phaedra on here. Hey, cuz. Hey, beautiful. So glad you all are on this scope. So we're just going to take our time. I'm scoping less a little bit nowadays, but I get on here. I want to have intent. I want to have a, just as the Holy Spirit leads me to share with you all in the realm of dating. And for those who are replaying, who's first time on the scope or will be joining in, let me just take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Jo Bullock, and I'm one of the founders of an organization called Detour Movement, where we believe when you renew your mind, you transform your entire life, right? Your entire life. And we move, say, not only just your life, as you transform your life, you can transform your relationships. And as you transform those relationships, it just makes a world of a difference of the quality life that you live and that you have. So I had the topic today, say, single ladies, your husband is waiting for you, but are you ready? So we're going to dive deep, and don't be afraid to give some dialogue back to back, because what inspired me to share this is I know even on my journey of singleness, now I'm married. I've been married for 3 years, and I can recall, because I'm coming from the marriage perspective, a lot of people say, you're married, why are you talking to singles? Right, why am I talking to singles? Because I want to help single women make the right choice in their dating relationships, right? So they can attract healthy, happy love that leads to a God-centered marriage, right? So that's the reason. And hey there, Wendy, so glad you're on the scope. So that's the reason. And I want to share with you because I'm grateful that during my journey of singleness, even though at some points I felt like I was waiting for my husband, I finally got to the point that realized that he was waiting on me to get some things together. And that may or may not be your case, but we're going to go down a couple of different things to see if there's anything that you could be doing while you waiting on him or to get ready for him and all that good type of jazz. So the first, let me tell you a little bit of my story. So my story a little bit for some of you that are new. I was about 27, 28 years old, and at that point I had already had a history of crazy drama-fied relationships. You know how like they say you keep getting into a new relationship, but the only thing changes is the person face, because you keep going through the same situations and the same circumstances all over again. And I remember when I hit rock bottom when I was dating this one guy I had met at the bar. Because I was a financial advisor in the day, and I was a bartender at night, because as a financial advisor, all my income was on commission. So I was using bartending to help supplement my income. So I'm literally booted and suited, 3-piece suit in the morning, in the daytime, and at night I'm going to this bar in not the best area. So anyway, I met this guy at the bar. He had 3 kids, which I later find out he had 3 kids. He was single. He had a business. you know, and I was like, okay, we're going to try to make this happen. So I started dating him, and to make a long story short, even in those, like within the first 2 months, we got into a relationship very, very quickly. And then one time I was sharing with him about this, my friend who had drunk too much. And he told me the way I had responded to that situation and to a guy in that situation, that if I ever did that to him, he didn't know what he would do. That was my first stop sign. Okay, that was not a red flag. There's no such thing as red flags. There's just stop signs that says you need to board right now. So I did not. I continued into the relationship with this guy. And unfortunately, months later, he ended up being charged for a crime. And because I was in such close quarters with him, my car was searched and seized. I was renting an apartment, or not even an apartment. I was renting a room from this guy, and my little room was searched. And you know, I later got an attorney that was the court appointed me attorney and said that I was being treated as a suspect. So my whole choice of being with somebody that God never intended me to be with now had me in a situation where I was being treated as a suspect for one of the highest crimes in like the world. Like crazy. So needless to say, I was paralyzed by fear. I didn't really know what was going to happen next in my life. I was really just not in a good place. And so, you know, I started to, as most people do, when you start hitting rock bottom, you'd be like, nobody can help you. So you like, let me go to God. Like, he always has a plan, right? Like, if I don't got a plan, my mom ain't got a plan, my sister ain't got a plan, my best friend ain't got a plan, God's got a plan. So I was like, let me get into my word, and like, I just need to detour, because I was already a believer. I don't even know if that time I was teaching Bible study, but I was already in the Word, but I still was living like as a worldly Christian, if you know what I mean. Like, just, I'm for Christ, but I'm still dealing with sexual immorality and still dealing with the struggle of the flesh and all this type of stuff. So anyway, speeding the story up, I ended up dissolving that whole relationship. Thank God that through God's grace, nothing happened to me as far as the charges and all this that was going on with that whole situation. And then I moved to a different area, and I started to realize as I went through other relationships, because again, I would get into different relationships, but I realized that I was not showing up fully. I was not fully present. And then it started just to come to me like a ton of bricks, that I had spent so much time worrying about how I look and, you know, worrying about how a guy looked, and I hadn't spent enough time on my inner self. And when I started to do that, I really had positioned in myself to attract my husband, which me and him actually met online. And after it was so funny. I will say after the first couple of dates, he knew, maybe the first date, like he was dating other people when we met, but after the first date, he knew that he wanted to pursue me and me alone. And within 3 months, he was talking about marriage. But the thing is, I had to get from that place of just willing to settle for anything. I had to get from the place of not having standards and just willing to do anything in a relationship with a man. I had to kind of just get myself together. So I want to walk with you. I know I kind of speed through that story, but I want to walk with you some of the things that I done. And I want you guys to talk back to me, because I want this to be conversational. Like, you guys know y'all can text and all that on Periscope. So, and we're just going to do a check. And you guys let me know if any of these things or any of these areas that maybe somebody's waiting on you. Because, you know, my husband, when I met him, he was looking for a wife. Actively looking for a wife. Like, he didn't tell me, hey, Jill, nice to meet you, I'm looking for a wife. No. Later, he told me that he was looking. And had I not been ready, then I would have not been chosen. You know what I mean? And let me just say this, because what comes to me is thinking about the stories of the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and 5 was foolish. And 5 of them had their lamps and oils ready to go for the whole night. And 5 of them did not. And 5 of them that did not, they were thinking that they would have time to go back out and get the oil before the bride and groom came. Well, let me tell you, they were wrong. And I believe that why I mention that right now in this moment, you'd be like, what? That was so random. Let me tell you why that's so relevant and it wasn't random. Is because sometimes we think we're going to have time to go back and do the preparation that we need to do in order to be ready in that moment. But the door of opportunity opens and shut. And when opportunity arises, we cannot be in a season where we're trying to get ready. We can't be like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock. The bride and groom coming at 12. You know, I thought I was going to have enough time to go and come back, but I don't. It's going to take 90 minutes to go back and get this oil, and I only got an hour before they come in. Okay, so it's so important that in this season that we get ready and not be like trying to get ready after the fact. So let's just go through a couple of things. in the areas of mentally and even personally, how do you think of yourself? Like, what is your relationship with yourself? And I want you guys, if you feel comfortable, I pray this is a safe space. This is a safe space. So if you would share with me, and if you have some areas of growth, share them with me, because what I want to do is try to steer you to the right next step and next thing so you can grow in that area. So when it comes to personally, how do you think of yourself? How do you feel about yourself? Like, is there areas of things about you that you really don't like and you have not and don't want to accept about yourself, but you haven't been able to move from that? You know, it could be just different insecurities. Hey, Trina. Hey, Jennifer. There can be different insecurities that you may experience, you know, that you may say, well, you know, I have this thing, but I'm not over it yet. I haven't, you know what I'm saying? You're still dealing with whatever that thing is. So if you would be in this moment transparent, or if you perhaps know some friends that you want to share things about other women that you sometimes notice that they may be dealing with, because this is one thing that we tend to ignore, but it's so important. Because the truth of the matter is, a man likes a woman who likes themselves. And sometimes we have some deep-rooted insecurities about who we are that can be very off-putting. So we need to go ahead and start working on that now, so when we do go out, it does not come up. I'll share first. I'll share about, you know, I often tease about my nose. That used to be an insecurity I have. Like, you see my nose kind of weird. But, you know, I love my nose. It doesn't bother me. I'm comfortable with it. But at one time it did. And I used to have insecurities around that. And when you have insecurity, it usually comes up and shows up. You know, even sometimes you can have insecurities about holding a conversation, right? And whether you're introvert or extrovert, if you haven't really been intentional about conversations and how to build relationships with a man, or you used to a man being controlling, being demanding, and you're trying to pivot to a healthy relationship, or even let's be frank, how about when you're like upgrading? How about when you're upgrading when it comes to guys? Let's talk about that for a moment, because that could be that you create a level of insecurity about that. Okay, I just told you I went from a guy who I got charged for a crime. You know, he didn't have a college degree, and at the time I had my bachelor's. He didn't have a bachelor's degree. He didn't have a associate's degree. He didn't have a high school diploma. At the time, he had a GED. Okay, I went from that to, for example, I'm trying to get my timeline here. So I dated a guy who had, you know, a master's degree, or was pursuing his master's degree. He was a full-blown professional. He didn't have any children, you know. And even from that, I went to another guy who he didn't have kids, but he was high ranked in the Marines, and, you know, he had been married before. He was very well off financially. So in terms of status, I was constantly, you know, increasing in the level of status the guy I dated. And let me just be frank, there was some level of insecurity, because you're dealing with somebody, for example, who has a master's degree and, you know, very well off, and, you know, in a different space, have traveled all over the world, versus somebody who's only been in their local city. It's just a difference in your confidence of how you're showing up. Let's just be frank. At least that was my story. That was my story. I had to get used to being in somebody's environment like that, because the conversation is different. It's going to be different. It just is. And so you have to be ready to show up and say, okay, in this moment, I'm dating somebody that's, you know, is different, because I'm upgrading. We talked about that on the last scope. And I'm going to see if I get the last scope on YouTube, because it was awesome. But when you're upgrading with the guy that you're dating, if there's different than the guys you dated in the past, your conversation is going to be different. And I have some questions. I haven't set it up, but I wish I had it right with me. No, I don't have this on my computer. I have some questions that you can ask, so you can better position yourself, so you don't feel that level of insecurity, like what am I going to say, what I'm going to ask. Just if I can think real quick, one of the questions were you asking, hey, what is it exactly are you looking for with a relationship with a woman? This is when you're changing the type of guys that you're in and around, you got to change your conversation, right? Because how many of you guys, I just want you guys to be transparent right now. How many of you guys feel like you have dated guys how I don't want to say not on your level, but that God never intended you to be with. That you guys just have different values, different beliefs, but you were dating him for some reason, because he was fine, because he was whatever. Okay, Tip, thanks for being honest. Anybody else? I want to make sure I know exactly who I'm talking to. Okay, yes, so you have been in that situation. So as you pivot, we want your conversation to pivot, because they're going to see you differently, because you're going to show up differently. So that's talking about the mental aspect. So if you have any insecurities, I want to encourage you to learn to accept them or change them, right? So with my nose, I could either say, I either hate my nose, I could either, just say it's my nose, whatever. I could have plastic surgery. I just chose the second option. It was cheaper, like whatever. It's just what it is. So you have to get to that point, and you have to sometimes say affirmations to convince yourself that it's okay. And if it's something you can change, like let's say you have an insecurity in regards to your weight, then you have to make a decision. Because I know, sometimes I be joking and say, not even joking, I have like this wishful thinking that it would be nice to lose 15 pounds, but it's not like a big deal to me. So like, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Right? So you have to decide that, are you serious about it? And I decided that I wasn't serious about it because I'm not committed to doing what it needs to be done to do it for a long period of time. So I'm like, okay, I'm not that committed. So you have to decide, if it bothers you that much, you have to be willing to change it. And if you aren't willing to change it, you don't have the discipline to change it, you have to accept it. Just one or the other. You sometimes get into this whole thing with ourselves. Either you're going to say, okay, I'm sick and tired, and I'm just going to change my lifestyle, and I'm going to change my eating, and I'm really going to get serious about this. Then you have to go forth from that. And I can refer you to people that can help you in that area. My girlfriend Refused to Fail, Jeanette, lost like 150 pounds. And she has so many programs that she can help you with that to be accountable. And that was Refusing to Fail. That's for weight loss. So there's so many things. So anyway, get yourself right and become happy and fall in love with who you are, right? Just as God created you to be. So let's do some other temperature checks. How about emotionally? Emotionally. Are you ready emotionally? Or is he going to be waiting on you to get your emotions together? Oh, and I didn't tell my girlfriend's story. I got to tell that story. Okay. Pause. Let's tell the story. So I was at my girlfriend's house about a week ago, and she was saying how she had dated this guy. She had dated this guy in high school. And she didn't even think she dated him because he would walk her to her car, and, she always thought he would give her a forehead kiss or do something to show that he was interested in her, but he never did anything. Or maybe high school, college, whatever it was. And so she, went on, eventually got married, did her own thing. And then years later, she ended up not being in that relationship anymore, and he was still single. And this whole time, he knew that God had her as his wife, and there was nobody else. So after 15, 20 years had passed, she, became available again. She wasn't dating anybody. She was finally in that place spiritually, and they reached out to one another. And this whole time, like almost 20 years, he was waiting on her. And I was like, this is what inspired me to do the scope tonight. He was waiting on her for like 20 years. Because she was so blind, she didn't even see him right there before her eyes. She was expecting guys. You know how sometimes we think that if a guy likes us, he's going to be saying all kind of things to us. He's going to be, touching us or, doing certain type of things physically. But when you're dealing with a godly man, he's going to court you differently, right? He's going to respect you and reference you like he would do his sister. So he may not be that physical, you may not get that physical involvement that you might expect from a worldly man. At least you should not, right? So we just have to keep that in mind, and just the point thing is just like be in the moment, be happy, and live now, right? So anyway, that whole time he was waiting for her. So, but I believe that the reason why they didn't get married sooner is because she was not ready, right? And even though she wasn't ready, he knew she wasn't ready. She ended up being with somebody else because she desired to be married. So anyway, let's go back to a check with you. Emotionally, are you ready? Emotionally, are you ready? What does that mean? Emotionally, are you ready? When it comes to the things that you've been through in your past, have you really healed from those things? You say, Jill, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? Thanks, Tiff, for being honest. I'm talking about the last guy that you were with, for example, or that guy that you really, really liked. You thought you was going to marry, like you still kind of think you're going to marry, but you know he's not God's best for you. That's what I'm keeping my time on right now. But you're still holding on to something. Like if you see him today with another woman, it will just crush your spirit. Like sometimes you're still going and checking on his Facebook, social media to see what he's up to and see if he's dating anybody yet or who's he dating now. Okay. So let's not focus so much on what he's doing, and let's focus on what's going on with us and how we can get ourselves ready. Because I can tell you, sometimes we spend too much time focusing on about where he's at, when he's going to come, and I'm saying, I do believe in being intentional in your dating, and we'll talk about that on another session. But this session, I want to talk with you about focusing inward on what you need to do to get ready, so you won't be like the virgins who light went out because they didn't have time to go back and get oil, because you're not going to need to go back and get oil because you're going to have enough. You're going to have enough preparation already to show up as the best version of yourself, so you won't miss out on God's best. And I believe what God has for you is for you. However, let's be honest. The reason why we go through the same lesson, why you going through the same lesson over and over and over again, is because you have not learned your lesson. So once you learn the lesson, you become a master at it, and then God can graduate you to the next stage, right? He can graduate you to the next stage, because there's danger in going for it and you haven't passed. So emotionally, you may need to do some work. And there's several things you can do for the emotional work. Crazy part about it is he's married someone else. Yeah, he's married someone else. So what I would say, Tiff, is just focus on living your best life now. And you're like, Joe, I got you. What does that mean? That means each day, at least each week, really every day, but do something every week to live your life full out. Something that you love, right? Get madly in love with you and become obsessed with living a great life now. I'm telling you, this is like so important. This is something that women miss. And I do a lot of personal development, if you will. But it's like we have to do that in order to get to the relationship part of it. I went to a ballroom dance and my self-esteem. To hello my self-esteem. So are you saying you went to a ballroom dance? I don't understand. Are you saying just so you could dress up and so you could like just look beautiful? And so to help your self-esteem. I think I got what you're saying, but I'm not sure I caught all of it. And just saying that you did this to like just to help. Why are you guys saying help? I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying that you did that so you can feel better, to help your self-esteem? To help my self-esteem. Yeah, do something every week. Let me tell you some of the things that I used to do and that you can do. But you have to do what you love. If you love dancing, find a dance class and go to. Whether it's tango, whether it's salsa, whether it's hip-hop, go. If you like kickboxing or you like to be active, go. If you like skiing, or find something to do. Go to a meetup group, connect with people, and find something to do. Make your life like exciting now, because sometimes the thing with us as women, we think we have to be in a relationship with a man in order to have a good time. And I like to say the devil is a lie. Like, absolutely. And men were treating you like a lady. And two, because sometimes we need to learn, sometimes you may need to learn how a man should treat you. Because oftentimes, many of us have not been taught. Okay? Many of us have not been taught what it is and how a guy's supposed to treat us, so we need to be exposed to that. I think that's great. She went to a ballroom or a ball party and had this experience and had this exposure. That's part of her preparation. You know what I mean? Some of us don't even know what to expect about how a guy treats us, because there's too many women right now. I know too many women right now that are still doing house dates. We are not doing that. Stop it. If that's you, stop. This is 2016. Stop doing house dates as a Christian woman. Just stop. Stop. I used to do them. Let me tell you why. Because I didn't even realize the value of going on a real date. Okay. So we gotta know, we gotta be more intentional about this whole thing. cleanse ourselves emotionally, spiritually. Let's go to the spiritual part. So spiritually, are you ready? Spiritually, you are ready. You know, I was writing up something the other day, and I was just thinking about our spiritual relationship. Actually, we're preparing. We're going to be doing like a how to love challenge for February, and I was writing some notes about that. And I was just thinking, like, okay, how our relationship with God relates to our relationship with man. And I was thinking, you know what? Let's be frank. If you desire to be married and you thinking, you know, I'm waiting for him, but am I waiting for him or he's waiting for me? Let me say this. As a Christian woman, you need to be able to submit to God and be obedient to what God says, because once you get married, your husband is going to be the spiritual head. He's going to be leader of that house. So there's going to be times, really all the time, you're going to be following him. But sometimes, you know, you're going to have to submit to his will and not your own. I'm talking about your husband. I ain't talking about God no more. Sometimes you're going to have to submit to your husband's will and not your own. Right? So, but one part of our boot camp training ground for this is that we learn to submit to God's will and not our own. We have to learn that level of sacrifice in this moment, in this time now. So now is the time for you to learn how to be okay with that sacrifice. So just keep that in mind. So if you saying, man, Jill, you all up on my big toe, you on my corn on my pinky, then I want to encourage you to go deeper in your faith walk, to make sacrifices and say, you know what? I hear you, Jill. You saying that I'm going to have to submit to my husband, so I need to learn first how to submit to God. Absolutely. And you're going to have to be faithful to your husband. So the best way to do that is learning first to be faithful to God, right? So I dare you to dive deeper so you can be ready. We need to get ready. So there's this thing, and I'm going to share a little bit more. I got like one or two more points I'm going to make, but there's a program that we have in my book, and I believe Tiffany's reading it right now. Maybe she's already read it. The Biggest Lies Women Believe About Men Dating Themselves, Discovering the Truth of a Fabulous Life and Relationship. This is my book. I believe it's like $19.99. You can go to thebiggestlieswomenbelieve.com to grab a copy. And this book is for you. If you feel like you related to a lot of the things I said tonight, if you feel like when it comes to dating and relationship, you just have a level of, oh, she's done. She's done. If you have a level of uncertainty, if you feel like you've been believing lies about who you are, about who you're not sure about things when it comes to dating and relationships and what's really right or not right to do, because there's just so much toxic things out there, would you do me a favor and invest in this for yourself? Right? Invest in this. TheBiggestLiesWomenBelieve.com is $19.99, and I think if you use Fabulous 1, I think, is it the number or the word? I don't remember. I think it's Fabulous, the number 1. Get the book. Awesome. Blessing. Thank you. You know, then I encourage you to do this. Now, if you really are in a season, you saying, Jill, I'm dealing with, you know, I hate to say, I have daddy issues. You know, my dad wasn't there for me. I feel like I still have a lot of wounds as it relates to that. My last relationship, my husband just left me. You know, I've been in relationships where guys told me, you know, like my boyfriend told me that we was going to get married and he just abandoned me. If you're dealing with any of those things, if you feel like, okay, I've been on this journey of singleness, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, it feels like insanity. I'm like sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've been listening to Periscopes. We've been following you on YouTube for years or following other people, but I still feel like there's something missing. I still feel like all this stuff I haven't been able to really put together to really elevate me into position and prepare me to be ready for wifeship, if I can make that up. Then I want to invite you to invest in the Love Like Crazy program. The Love Like Crazy program, what is that all about? The Love Like Crazy program has to do with we take a look at the relationship pyramid, right? The relationship pyramid. It starts, it's like here, and at the bottom of that foundation of the pyramid is your relationship with God, right? We're saying that your relationship with man should reflect your relationship with God, and especially with your man of God, right? As you submit to God, you'll be submitting to your husband, and we help you just to get a really solid spiritual foundation, right? And then from there, we help you to really get rid of any fears. Let me tell you, I used to have some serious fears. And fear is a freaking confidence killer. Like, killer. Fear is a confidence killer. And let me tell you something else. Any type of fear is insecurity, right? And insecurities is the number one, I said the number one attraction killer when it comes to men. Did you guys know that? Like, I didn't know that for a long time. I used to have all kind of crazy fears. Like, oh my God, like it was just out of control. So anyway, you can go to tinyurl. I think it's tinyurl.com/lovelikeCrazy2016. Again, that's tinyurl.com lovelikeCrazy2016. And if you guys want me to repeat it, I can repeat it later. But anyway, I encourage you to invest in that. It's like $97 for this program. Right now we have it as just started the program. Love it so far. Hey, awesome. Right now we got it on a 21-day program. So it's like the accelerated. It's accelerated 21 days, and you really unearth a lot of things. Things that really took me decades to learn. Took me a lot of time to just reflect and think about what was all the steps that I took to help me get from a place of being a people pleaser, from getting from a place of being a woman that had dealt with my fears and insecurities and showing up in a very insecure way, not even knowing I was showing up in that way, to showing up as bold and confident and being able to attract the guy and husband that I have today. And I'm just really thankful, you guys. Let me tell you, you guys, I'm just so thankful that God had imparted the wisdom in me to make the right choice, that God has sent the right man in my life, and that I was wise enough to take it. Because I'll tell you, I have a lot of friends who, and people just in our community who contact us a lot, and they're discontent with their marriage. They made the wrong choice, if you will. The relationship is not going the way they wanted to. They're not happy. And I can say that I am like crazy happy in my marriage. Like, if you guys could put a camera in me and my husband's house, you'd be like, these people are crazy. Like, in a good way. Right now, we're actually moving, right? Thank God. Hallelujah. We're moving. We're going into our first home, and we're packing. And like, we're supposed to be packing. But me and him, we fooling around, you know, just doing crazy stuff. We're very comfortable with each other. Like, we just be fooling around all the time. You know, I'm like jumping on his back. You know, we like passing gas, running on one another. Like, we're real comfortable. It's like everything goes. We have fun all day. You know, we should have been like, if we weren't fooling around, we probably would have been twice as much packed as we are right now. But we just focus on enjoying one another, loving one another, teasing one another, like in a fun way, just all day. And like, if I hadn't made the right choice, I couldn't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Not to say firing on each other is all cool and whatever, but it's just saying that we're comfortable with one another. We respect one another. We understand that we're both human. We don't argue, you know. We have disagreed before, but we don't argue. And I just want you to understand what's possible. Just constantly having a relationship that is healthy is possible. But you got to make the right choice. And in order for you to make the right choice, you got to be the right choice. Hello, right? So anyway, let's go over one or two more areas. So we talked about mentally, personally, just liking yourself, living your life full out, getting out, doing stuff. We talked about emotionally, you know, that healing. We talked about spiritually. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about financially. Financially, are you ready? Right? I can remember, oh my God, like when I was dating this one guy, he was a football player. And I was trying to, at the time, I was thinking about going to law school. I wasn't really into law school, just trying to get myself together, but I really didn't have any footing, you know, in that relationship. And so, you know, the relationship ended up not going anywhere. But the thing is, I couldn't really even put a lot of energy and effort in that relationship because I didn't have my finances together. I barely knew where my next rent check was coming from, right? So think about where you are financially. Are you stable in that area? So that's important that you do that. And also think about your spending habits, because let me tell you, I know one thing I know to be true. A lot of times it's not even so much about how much money you're making or not making. And I get it. Sometimes people are just underemployed or between positions, but oftentimes women, all my sister girlfriends, sometimes y'all just be spending too much money on some clothes and shoes and all of that. And you already know. Anybody, somebody please tell me, what's the number one reason for divorce? You guys, all you guys, I want everybody to put it. What's the number one reason for divorce? I want everybody to put it on the scope. We just had somebody new join. Hey there. Hey there. So glad you decided to join the scope. Money, 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 money. Anybody else? Come on, come on, come on. I want to see all of you guys tell me what's the number one reason for divorce. Money, 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 money. Right? And you know what? And I believe because me and my husband do not have this issue, that's one of the leading reasons. I mean, obviously because we have Christ in our life is the number one reason. And the second reason I believe me and my husband have such a healthy marriage is because we don't have money issues. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that. But why don't we have money issues? There's various reasons. There's various reasons we don't have money issues. But it helps that every weekend I'm not going to the mall buying a bunch of stuff. I do shop sometimes, you guys. I do shop sometimes. Like the other day, I went to got 2 pairs of shoes for $150. But those are only shoes I bought this whole winter. The only shoes I bought this whole winter, right? So think about it. Take an assessment. Be honest with yourself. Are you overspending? Every time you're going out, are you getting a new outfit? Are you spending hundreds of dollars every month on clothing? You know, even if you got it. Because let me just be frank. And this is between me and you guys, right? Don't tell nobody else. I can afford to spend much more money on clothes and shoes. I choose not to. I choose. Why? Like, for what? I need to be putting money in my 401k. I need to be putting money in my Roth IRA. You know, like I mentioned to you, we buying a house. It's just so many other things. We got business, my business. It's so many other things. I ain't got no time to be wasting no time and money fooling around on clothes and shoes. And oftentimes we're doing that to impress other people, right? You guys better go down to the thrift store. Anybody shop thrift? I know I be thrifting. Like, no, I be thrifting. And I go on a discount days and I be like, let me see if I can find me some blazers. And if you do thrift or you never thrift before, but you are a shopper and you like to be diva, okay, good. Well, y'all better know about it. Salvation Army, y'all better know about it. And there are some other thrift stores, especially, I don't know what area you're in, but you can Google best thrift store in your city, in your state. And some of these thrift stores be having so much nice stuff. So I'm not telling you don't look good. I'm not saying that because you do want to look good on the outside. However, you want to invest more time and money on the inside, right? So do that. And yeah. So you guys kind of got quiet on the money thing. So if you find that your money is funny, then that's an area of growth for you. And I'm tasking you to get in with that, okay? I don't trust following somebody who's doing this big thing on money saving right now. I don't remember her name. Dream catchers, that's it. If your money is funny, I want to encourage you to join the dream catchers. I don't know how far along they are in this challenge, but you should join it. Okay, join the dream catchers if your money is funny. So that's what I want to encourage you ladies, because it's so important that we take time out. Sometimes, like I say, so focus on what he's doing in the next thing, but I want to encourage you to focus on what you're doing and what you're not doing and what you should be doing. Right? So we talked about, I think it was 5 areas. What questions do you guys have? We talked about mental, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual. Do you guys have any questions or anything you want to share? So the end of my message is, I believe he's waiting on you. I believe he's waiting on you. This is what my girlfriend Toya said too. I don't know if Toya's still on here. He is waiting on you to get you together. He's waiting on you to get you together. And if you feel like, Jalita, I hear you and I said on this whole scope and I'm together and he still ain't here and he still ain't waiting on me. Well, I'm going to tell you this. He's waiting on you to start living your best life and start living, start to live and be in that place of happiness. Right? Because sometimes we wait for our happiness for a relationship or wait to start living. Let me tell you, do it now. And if you're dating somebody, your goal should be to be happy without him and just be happy living. Have that joy in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. Because that's what attracts people to you, right? God don't want to think that he's the center of your life and he's the center of your joy. He don't want to think that your life revolves around him. No. He's just the icing on the cake. Like, you're going to have the cake regardless. He's just like the icing or the ice cream, whichever one. But you're going to have the cake regardless, which is your joy, which is your peace, which is your happiness, which is having Christ as the center of your life. So do you guys have anything you want to share before I hop off scope tonight? All right, so I'm just going to refer you to a couple of places to stay connected with us. So go to DMI Fabulous I Am members. If you're not part of our Facebook group, go there, please, and become a member. We talk about all kind of stuff. It's for women of faith who want to transform their life and their relationships. Join us there. Detour Movement Fabulous I Am members. You can join that Facebook group. We also want to encourage you to grab a copy of the book. I said The Biggest Lies Women Believe.com. If you would, go there and grab a copy and start reading that book, and I want to hear your feedback. You can hit Fabulous Wine as a promo code. And then the last thing is, you may be like, okay, I'm ready to invest in myself. I've never really invested in a program, to help me learn how to love. Love Like Crazy is the program. And I feel like that's my next step. I've been on this journey for a while, kind of discouraged, kind of not sure what's next for me. I want to show up more boldly. I want to show up more confidently. Then I want to invite you to go to tinyurl.com/lovelikecrazy2016. All right? Okie dokie. Well, it's been great. When you go to the Facebook group, if you want me to scope about anything particularly, let me know. I'll scope about all things dealing with relationships, personal growth and relationships. Because as I say, I help women make the right choice about their dating relationships. So you don't have to learn so hard. Ain't nobody got time to be learning so hard. Nobody got time. All right? All right, ladies. So you have a good night. I'm about to get back to my packing. You're welcome, Tiffany. I'm about to get back to my packing. I'm so excited. Can you tell? So excited. Packing. Yeah. Go harass my husband. That'll make it a little more fun. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Be blessed.